This is all dialogue. This is rhetoric. The left going after the right going after the left. In the 80s, it was just a rival.
Just a rival.
It was just competition. It was all about who is making bigger movies.
You did Conan, and you had the kind of love scenes. You didn't seem too comfortable at that time. Are you getting more comfortable with that?
Oh,
now this movie, I understand, in Total Recall.
He built his career on discipline, precision, and respect for the process. But for 6 actors, those values turned into points of friction. Think about it. What could push a man notorious for control to quietly shut someone out of his circle forever? These weren't small disagreements. They were turning points. From ego battles to mismatched work styles, each feud carried hidden lessons about survival in Hollywood. And by the end, you'll see why those 6 names mattered more to his empire than the dozens he called friends.
So was with Harrison Ford or Mel Gibson and others that were on the top in their career. It was actually my first movie that made domestically over $100 million, and it was a comedy, not an action movie.
Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1, Sylvester Stallone. Imagine 2 men competing for the same crown, both larger than life, both determined to dominate the same battlefield. Sylvester Stallone didn't just arrive as another name on a call sheet. He was a mirror image of the hero Arnold was shaping, an immigrant fighter who turned muscle and grit into box office gold. That parallel made the rivalry sting in a way few others ever could. In the 80s and 90s, their feud became the stuff of legend. Stallone had Rambo charging through jungles. Arnold had the Terminator marching through steel and fire. Every release felt like a duel, and the headlines always emphasized the competition. Fans debated which star carried the crown of action supremacy, while both men seemed unwilling to give ground. Even interviews became weapons, each using subtle digs to keep the other in check. Behind the scenes, Arnold's tactics turned clever. Famously, he tricked Stallone into accepting a role Arnold himself didn't want, knowing it would flop and add fuel to their playful rivalry. These games weren't just jokes, though. The press amplified them until every jab felt like a headline gladiator match. Watching from the outside, it was as if Hollywood had built 2 coliseums and dared audiences to pick which warrior they'd follow. Number 2, Bruce Willis. What happens when the tough guy who thrives on improvisation meets the general who only works by rules? That question summed up Arnold's clash with Bruce Willis. On paper, their partnership looked perfect. 2 giants of the action world brought together under one banner. But behind the scenes, their styles couldn't have been more different. Arnold lived by structure. Every set, every call time, every minute was part of the machine. Bruce, meanwhile, walked in with a looser approach, often relying on charm and spontaneity instead of strict preparation. That balance snapped during the making of The Expendables 3. Bruce pushed for more money, wanted a shorter schedule, and carried the reputation of being hard to manage. To Arnold, these weren't harmless requests, they were red flags. In his mind, a team worked best when discipline came first. Extras, stunt performers, and crew all depended on an environment where the star set the tone. And when that star demanded more without giving back, Arnold saw it as disrespectful to the entire system keeping the production alive. His philosophy was simple. Some actors lifted the energy of a scene, others only raised their voices. Bruce fell into the second category. For once, Arnold didn't stay silent. He went public with a single word on social media: greedy. That rare jab left no doubt where he stood. Willis was out, and the Empire's rhythm stayed intact. Number 3, Jean-Claude Van Damme. One side demanded discipline, the other dazzled the crowd with spinning kicks and showmanship. When Jean-Claude Van Damme burst onto the global stage, he carried a different brand of action stardom. His martial arts roots and high-flying moves put him front and center for fans who wanted spectacle. That rise triggered Arnold's instincts to protect what he had built. Van Damme's sudden popularity looked like a challenge, not through words but through sheer visibility. The contrast between the two men couldn't have been sharper. Arnold lived by militant conditioning, training schedules, strict diets, and roles carefully chosen to expand his reach. Van Damme leaned on staging, choreography, and moments that played to the crowd. His spinning kicks brought thunder from audiences, but Arnold dismissed it as surface-level flash, without the depth of a full empire strategy behind it. That difference marked their relationship from the beginning. Whenever they crossed paths at industry events, the coolness was obvious. Applause came for both, but camaraderie never followed. Instead of building a bridge, competition filled the air. Arnold's response didn't take the form of arguments. Instead, it came in comments like, "He's not competition, he's choreography." Those words revealed how he viewed Van Damme not as an equal to be beaten, but as a passing distraction. Number 4. Steven Seagal. Some rivalries explode in public. This one stayed a whisper, but the silence spoke volumes. Steven Seagal carried a reputation that often followed him onto every set. Stories of arrogance, difficult behavior, and a refusal to blend in as part of a team. Arnold valued the opposite. He believed in preparation, professionalism, and the idea that leadership meant setting the standard for everyone around you. The two mindsets could never align. Seagal made comments behind the scenes, speaking as though he was the true leader of the action genre and placing himself above Arnold. His words suggested a competition that Arnold never agreed to. For most actors, those insults might have set off a very public war, but Arnold chose not to react. He leaned on a core belief: real power doesn't talk about itself, it shows itself. By refusing to escalate, he turned Seagal's effort at rivalry into noise. That didn't stop Seagal from repeating the narrative. He would often bring up Arnold's name when asked about his own career, making comparisons that kept the idea of competition alive. Only once did Arnold respond, joking that Seagal could only compete with him in slow motion. That single remark carried more weight than any argument because it ended the conversation with humor instead of hostility. Number 5. Dolph Lundgren. What do you do when the man standing across from you looks almost like your reflection, only taller, fitter, and louder? That was the question the industry whispered when Dolph Lundgren rose to fame. Unlike others who entered Arnold's orbit, Lundgren looked like he could have been cut from the same block of stone, towering at 6'5" with the same carved frame and stoic screen presence. To many, he wasn't just another actor. He was a physical equal, one who seemed destined to share the same archetype Arnold had already claimed. The most obvious example was Rocky IV, where Lundgren's Ivan Drago became the face of unstoppable strength. His sheer size and icy demeanor on screen drew instant comparisons to Arnold's own brand of indestructible action roles. The public began placing them side by side, Arnold's mechanical warriors versus Lundgren's brute force villain. The comparison created tension, not through words, but through perception. Yet the difference between them was in what lay beyond the muscles. Lundgren leaned almost entirely on presence, while Arnold built his legacy through control, timing, and strategy. On set and at press gatherings, Arnold kept his distance, aware that too much focus on image could damage work itself. Industry circles often treated them as rivals, fueling whispers that two men this similar couldn't coexist without friction. Number 6. Lou Ferrigno. Arnold's rivalry with Lou Ferrigno began under harsh gym lights and on bodybuilding stages stacked with iron plates. Their most heated moment came during the 1975 Mr. Olympia contest, a clash that was filmed and immortalized for audiences in pumping iron. The film showed Lou as the promising newcomer, younger, taller, and eager to topple the reigning champion. For Arnold, that competition was different. It wasn't just another title. It was the chance to cement his exit from bodybuilding on his own terms, not someone else's. The tension rose as the cameras followed them behind the curtain. Lou trained with intensity, surrounded by family support, framed as the underdog hero ready to take the crown. Arnold, by contrast, leaned on his experience, using mind games and psychology to unsettle the younger challenger. Pumping iron revealed those tactics for the world to see. Audiences watched Arnold dominate not just through muscle, but through confidence and control, while Lou carried both hunger and pressure on his shoulders. Lou symbolized a challenge that came closest to ending Arnold's reign early. Instead, Arnold walked away the champion, stepping into Hollywood with momentum intact. Lou remained part of his story, proof that before any empire could rise, its throne had to be defended. Those 6 names were never random rivals. They were obstacles he neutralized to expand the empire he built. Arnold's empire was never only about muscles or movie success. It was built on how carefully he chose who belonged in his inner circle and who stayed on the outside. Every feud was more than a personal conflict. It was a test of whether discipline could survive ego and whether order could silence chaos. By holding to rules he trusted, he turned challengers into reminders of what not to become. Greatness, for him, was less about making allies and more about deciding who protected the empire and who threatened it. That's how his legacy still stands, unyielding, strategic, and controlled.